Dear colleagues, I would like to thank Professor Olena Mitchenko and other organizers for inviting me to participate on this very important meeting in Kiev. I'm going to talk today about the importance of polygenic cardiovascular disease risk score. And really in Estonia, we have done a lot in this field. So, when talking about cardiovascular risk assessment in Europe, as we all know, the genetic risk is not taken into account. We have just cholesterol, blood pressure, sex, and age, and so on, but not genetic risk score. And this is coming. It's now in development. Many countries are studying, making different investigations, and I will tell you in coming minutes that Estonia is also active in doing these investigations. According to our biobank, in Estonia, 210,000 participants. It means that every fifth of Estonian citizen is part of the Estonian Genome Project. And our expectation for the future is that half of the population will be in this project. But anyway, in our studies, we have identified that those persons, not always the patients, on the top 10% of polygenic risk they are having a much higher cardiovascular risk compared to those with the average risk or the bottom 10% of risk. Here you can see this is true for myocardial infarction in men and in women. It's even more in men, and of course also the cardiovascular mortality in men and in women. 100,000 residents were recruited during the year of 100 years of Estonian independence. So we're really happy to donate blood to our genome project. Here you can see our Minister of Health by that time. Estonian people are quite happy about the genome project, about genes. It's not so in all the countries in the world, I know, but at least this part is developing well in my country. There have been some investigations published lately, large investigation, and one is coming from the British Biobank. It's published last year, and again, the calculation of risk is becoming so much more precise, taking into account genetic risk, and it's also the result of this British Biobank study. We are using for the total cardiovascular risk assessment Cardiocompass, which is the product of the Helsinki University Hospital, and you see here is the patient view, and of course we are using it in Estonia. We are developing it further. We have quite a lot of patients already in this database and on these studies, and the patient can see whether his or her polygenic risk or genetic risk is higher than the average or lower or much higher. And also the patient can see, or the subject can see, where exactly he or she is compared to the similar age, the same sex, and similar risk factors, and what will happen if the subject will decrease cholesterol, skip smoking, what will happen to the risk? And it's very nice to play with such instrument, and sometimes it's very helpful. The patients like to see some numeric data, some data about themselves. Here again, the total cardiovascular risk when genetic risk is taken into account. The patient can see it also in the computer or as on the previous slides on the cell phone. The first very big project was Estonian CVD personalized prevention clinical project ESPERMED-1, which was in the years 2018-2021. And you see that it was supported by the European Union and also our research foundation in Estonia. The leading hospitals, Tartu University Hospital and North Estonia Medical Center, were taking part. Of course, Estonian Genome Project, University of Tartu and Tallinn University of Technology. So really, this was a project where all the leading Estonian hospitals and universities were in. Concerning cardiovascular risk and cardiovascular risk reduction in this study, we have randomized more than 1,000 participants. You can see here the control group, 511 subjects, and the intervention group, 507. There were equal groups. And in one group, intervention group, we have used all the opportunities to decrease cardiovascular risk because we knew that all these participants, the same with the control group, they are all having high cardiovascular or extremely high cardiovascular genetic risk. And they didn't know it beforehand. So even having high or very high genetic risk is the same as smoking, cigarette smoking, or extremely high cholesterol or very high blood pressure. So this is a very, very important part of cardiovascular risk. We have published this investigation in the European Heart Journal. And you see the publication, you see the graphical abstract here, which summarizes the results of our study. Intervention, 3 visits, 1 year duration. And we have seen that really the blood pressure, especially systolic blood pressure, has decreased in intervention group subjects. And also LDL or low density lipoproteins have decreased in this group. And especially 3 months after the visit, it was a bit milder. 12 months after the visit, it was also, I should say, it was in a COVID time. It was a bit interfering our project, but not really too much. But what could we do? It was the COVID period. But anyway, the patients were mainly very happy to be in the projects, and then same was with general physicians, because this project was done by many tens of Estonian family physicians. So it was led by universities, by cardiologists, by specialists, but finally the everyday follow-up of these patients and intervention was in the family physician offices. And really we saw that proactive prevention strategy is feasible. most indicators have showed positive dynamics, and majority of family physicians and study subjects have reported that knowing general genetic risk is improving lifestyle medication compliance. So we were very optimistic to continue nice studies like this. And I should say there are not so many clinical studies taking into account genetic risk in the world. And on the previous European Society of Cardiology Congress in London last year, Professor Anna Dominiciak from Glasgow has presented on the one of the personalized prevention sessions our study, and she was telling that our Estonian study is among very few studies in this field in a clinical scene. So we are really happy that that we have supported knowledge in Europe about genetic risk and cardiovascular disease. And why this polygenic risk score is also very important. It's a lipid lowering treatment, and you see on this slide published some years ago that in those patients with higher genetic risk, the result of the statin treatment you can see here on the coronary heart disease event rate was much better. So though the decrease in risk was better in high genetic risk patients. So we have to take this also into account, and this is a personalized prevention, whether it is secondary prevention or primary prevention. Anyway, it's so important. And the same has been demonstrated for the PCSK9 inhibitors, the novel treatment, which is now widely and more widely becoming to be used in all the world, in US, of course, and also in European countries. For example, in my country, in Estonia, PCSK9 inhibitors are 100% reimbursed in those patients post-MI, in which we are not reaching 2.6 millimoles per liter LDL cholesterol with statins and ezetimibe. And also we can use these drugs, and also inclisiran, the newest lipid lowering drug, which is administered twice a year subcutaneously. We can use these drugs also in familial hypercholesterolemia patients who are not able to get the 2.6 cutoff of LDL cholesterol. So it's quite effective and nice opportunity to decrease further risk of these very extremely high risk patients. And now the last study we just started 1 month ago in Estonia, which is a very large study, and this pragmatic trial assessing polygenic risk-driven statin therapy for cardiovascular disease prevention, and it's a Estonian PRS trial. Also very large team in Estonia running this trial, and you can see the number of participating subjects. They are not cardiovascular disease patients, but they are middle-aged subjects. The number is 2,500, and we are going to follow these patients for 5 years to get mortality, hopefully mortality reduction in 5 years. And you can see here again the family physicians are participating, several study visits. I'm not going into details, but this is really a long-term study survival study. You can see the primary outcome of this study. That's the first occurrence of my major adverse cardiovascular events, ischemic heart disease, stroke, transient ischemia, peripheral vascular occlusion, revascularization, or cardiovascular death. And there are also some secondary outcomes like systolic blood pressure, LDL cholesterol, and others. So, next slide, Estonian Heart Month 2025. Here is the downtown of Estonian capital, Tallinn, and we were really happy to demonstrate the Estonian Heart Month illumination show on 3 consecutive evenings on the skyscrapers of our downtown. You can see on the right building, Skyon building, the ECG chart, and it was demonstrating the pumping heart. Very nice videos we have from this beautiful event, and of course it was in our TV and radio programs. We were talking about cholesterol this year, especially because this year Heart Month was dedicated to the lipids and especially cholesterol and lipoprotein small a. Here you can see the mortality of Estonian inhabitants, which has been decreased more than 70% in 30 years. So we are really happy that Estonian heart health is improving year by year, but we also recognize that it's quite a way to reach European average level. But we are on this way, and we are quite actively working in decreasing cardiovascular mortality in our habitats. Thank you so much for listening. Slava Ukraini!